So it depends on your definition of escape. It also depends on your standard of proof. So there were at least 14 known escape attempts by individuals or groups of prisoners. And a lot of them died trying, or they were caught or just gave up. So, did people get out of their cells? Did they get out of the buildings? Yes. But a lot of those would probably be considered unsuccessful because they were, caught or died. Quite a few actually made it to the water, and some were even able to hide out for a few hours before getting caught. So in 1945, one man was actually able to board the ferry from Alcatraz to Angel Island, but he was caught at Angel Island. In 1958, two men escaped from their work detail and they also made it to the water. They actually used garbage bags as flotation devices and basically went out and swam/drifted. One man was picked up by the police, but the other one disappeared and his body later surfaced, and so he definitely was not successful. In 1962, two men made it to the water. One was found nearby, but the other one actually swam all the way to Fort Point, which is kind of the one of the prominent points that's right next to Golden Gate Bridge on this beautiful walking trail today. So he swam all the way over there, but he was hypothermic and exhausted. And after he was hospitalized, he was returned to Alcatraz. So successful in some degree. The first person who's known to have, actually swam and made it to shore. So that's a kind of success. The really interesting cases are the ones where the bodies never showed up. And so we don't actually know, were they successful? Did they survive? Or did they drown and we just, never got their bodies? So in 1937, two men escaped during their work assignment and they made it to the water under the cover of fog, but they were never heard from again. And people think they died because the weather was bad, and so they're presumed drowned. But again, we didn't find their bodies, so it's possible. But of course, the most famous escape, the subject of the Clint Eastwood movie Escape from Alcatraz, is Frank Morris and the England brothers, who escaped from their cells in 1962 in probably the most creative and kind of engineeringly interesting escape. So my favorite part of their escape is they basically made paper mache heads and left them on their beds so that the guards would think that they were still in their cell. They also used spoons to carve out their cell walls. And I mentioned that the seawater wasn't great for, prisons. So the seawater makes the concrete and the plaster pretty crumbly. So they were able to carve out of their cell walls with spoons, augmented spoons, but spoons nevertheless. Yeah, so they were able to get out of their cell and then kind of work their way through the insides of the prison. And when they made it to the water, they had made a lifeboat using rain jackets that were tied together. I think there were over 50 life jackets, rain jackets that they used. And between the creativity of their efforts and the fact that they actually made it to the water, and of course, some people say they're still alive, this has really triggered our collective imagination. So it's definitely a fascinating escape attempt. But of course, the really interesting part is what happened next. A lot of people claim that the three men survived. Various family members and the FBI have received letters from people claiming to be either Frank Morris or one or both of the England brothers. Other people, including like childhood classmates, have claimed to see them. Interestingly, the U.S. Marshal Service still lists Frank Morris as a wanted man. So, even they think there's at least a possibility. So yeah, it's possible that they're still out there. Although at this point they're probably passed away. But at least for a couple of decades, it was possible that they were out enjoying life, enjoying freedom.